Hello, this is Frank and Charlie with another couple of albums to review. Yes, we did Bloodlust by Body Count and Look at Yourself by Emmure.
Yep.
What are your thoughts, Charlie?
On what? On suicide? Yeah. Fucking look at yourself
Okay.
is like suicide. It's like killing yourself.
I told you,
Over and
it's
over
like
again.
gray noise. It's not. It's just like you don't realize it's playing because I kind of stopped caring halfway through.
That was obvious. All right. Well, I guess we'll start off. What did I think of Body Count? I thought it was fucking great.
I enjoyed it. I was not bored throughout the whole thing. I was actively into it. We noticed there was a few great guest appearances with Dave Mustang, Max Cavalera, and Randy Blythe, right?
Yeah, Randy Blythe. Yep, that's right. That's right, Frank. No, I thought it was fucking awesome. I thought all the guest appearances were fun, but they weren't too, they were used appropriately.
Oh, yeah, no, they weren't, overbearing or anything.
No, not at all.
You could definitely tell they were there. But.
Yeah, exactly.
And there were some of the best songs on the album, too, I think.
Yeah, I think Walk With Me, which had Randy Blythe in it, was my favorite.
That was very good.
But the one thing I do want to say about this album is that, above all else, the thing that impressed me most about this album, it wasn't the rap. It wasn't the politicalness. It wasn't anything like that. It impressed me in the way that many of my most favorite metal albums do, and it impressed me in the way of the fact that the guitars on the album were fucking incredible in some parts. The riffage on this album...
Yeah, it was great, solid instrumentals.
Yep. It was solid, and the riffage...
I mean, it wasn't anything, out of the ordinary or trying to go crazy or anything like that, but it just worked.
Yeah.
It all just worked very well.
It worked very well. But if I could say it, Frank, without you interrupting me, the riffage was fantastic. Sorry. The riffage was fucking... the Walk With Me riffs...
yeah, they're good.
They're not good.
There was a lot...
They're amazing. Some of them
are
literally
One thing you told
amazing.
me when we were starting, the first song, you said, this reminds me of Slayer. And it really did. It was a Slayer song, basically. It was a slower Slayer song.
Yeah.
Just the way the vocals were done and, some of the riffs throughout.
Well, yeah, I mean, that song in particular to me, I don't know so much about the other ones, but the thing about the guitars for the whole albums is that they're the guitars, the riffage, and the soloing is all Slayer-esque throughout the whole album.
And they even
that's the one,
Slayer in the album.
Yeah, they cover fucking Slayer. So, I mean, there's that. But on Civil War, it's just the fact that Ice-T's vocals even...
It sounded like Tom Araya.
Yeah, it sounds like Tom Araya, like you said. I don't know. I just want to give, a heads up here, okay? I'm not the biggest fan of rap. I'm not thinking about this as really a rap album, even though that's how a lot of people...
Well, it's not a rap album.
I think a lot of people, it's heavy rap.
It shouldn't be looked at.
Machine.
I mean, anybody... What do you call that, rap, though? Rage Against the Machine?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. You can put as many labels on it. Yeah, it's a metal album.
I guess
it's
a
rap
subjective
album.
thing.
It's a subjective thing, but there's definitely rap elements, there's metal elements. I don't know much about rap, but I'd say I know quite a bit about metal, and as a metal album, this fucking album...
It succeeds.
Yes, it succeeds perfectly. And, another full disclosure, let's talk about the politics on this album, okay?
Well, it's not even that,
no.
in your face, and even when it does go in your face, it's pretty kind of, normalized, it's, when the No Lives Matter song, what I got out of that was, it doesn't, it really doesn't matter whatever your skin color is or whatever, it's, you just get shit on in general if you're poor.
Yeah.
Which is a big problem.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the album is like that, where it's political, but it's not really bashing you over the head with it. It's not really,
This is also
super
coming from
political.
two white guys.
Yeah, no, that's what I was getting to. Is
Yeah.
like, but the thing is that a lot of people, like, from what I could tell, find like solace in rap music and the fact that it speaks to them when they talk about the streets. They talk about.
Well, this has the same sort of
neighborhoods.
like vibe. Like it talks about the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
and that's what
different.
but I'm saying like we don't look at it like that because we're two crackers who went to private school, okay?
Yes.
We don't have that kind of insight. But even though we don't have that kind of we don't have that kind of connection to like Ice-T in the sense where we know where he's coming from necessarily with the lyrics, we can still appreciate the fact that this album is very well constructed in terms of all the instrumentals, and the vocals for the most part I'd say fit. I think there are certain points where Ice-T's vocals are kind of weak. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Not necessarily in both the actual lyrics and the way he projects them. It's a little weak in some parts, but for the most part, I think it fits perfectly with what they're trying to go for, and I think it complements the entire rest of the album. But I think the vocals aren't the best thing about this album at all. I think it's the guitar work, as I already said. And
yeah.
The other thing about this album is just enjoyable to listen to from start to finish.
Yeah.
Like, that's the key word I would use, is enjoyable. I mean, there's times when I was bobbing my head, there were times when it made me think, and there were times when I was laughing out loud.
Yes.
Do you want to explain why we were laughing out loud?
Well, there's a song on the album called "The Ski Mask Way," and basically, it talks
How does that
about,
chorus go?
Gotta make my money the ski mask way. It's great.
It's great. He says, we gotta make my money, gotta make my money the ski mask way. And when he says
and
the
it
ski mask
basically
way,
involves robbing a bunch of
yeah,
people.
that's what it means. And we laughed for a solid minute after the first time we heard him say the ski mask way. And it's not necessarily because it's bad, because it's just one of those things that like kind of tickles you. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
It's just so, it's not even stupid. It's just so kind of like fun. I'd say it's fun.
It's fun.
It's a fun thing, which is kind of fucked up to say when you're talking about Ice-T robbing a.
Take
Sorry.
two.
Take five. Yeah.
Charlie's
Sorry,
cat
everybody.
turned the power off.
Yeah, my cat is a dick. But I think we're just gonna pick up where he left off. So, Frank, what was your favorite song on the album?
Walk with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. One, I'm a Lamb of God fan.
I'd say you're more than a
like Randy
fan.
Blythe.
I love those fuckers.
Yeah, and I don't know. The riffs are like pretty hard hitting. It all worked together pretty well. So that was my favorite song.
I would have to agree. That's probably my favorite song on the album too. I mean, I really like Civil War too. I think that's
Civil War was good. There were a bunch of good songs. I just think Walk With Me was my favorite.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's not because of Randy Blythe. He's nice in it. He's
no, but
he's like a good
I think like it's very. The riffs are very heavy.
Yes.
They're like quick. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they're very.
They're fast. They're a lot faster than a lot of the other.
They sound like Lamb of God riffs, kind of too. Like, not completely just ripping them off, but they sound like that's the quality of these riffs.
Yeah.
I don't know. This guy. What's his name? Ernie C. Is that his name?
He's a cool dude. I looked him up on the interwebs. He's done some neat things.
No, he made me a fan of fucking him today.
Body count.
Not a fan of fucking him. A fan of. I'm just a fan of the guitarist Ernie C. After this album, I think he had something to say on this album, and I'd basically say he had more to say on this album than fucking Ice-T did. Because Ice-T, he's doing his whole Law and Order spiel. He's doing his semi-cringy, fantasy-esque things on Here I Go Again. But Ernie C came out fucking swinging on this album, and he destroyed it as far as I'm concerned. So kudos to that man. And yes, good job, Ernie. Good job. You know, there's guitarists out there who, you know, play 9-string guitars and sweet pick everything and just play faster than the speed of light. And I will take Ernie C pumping out riff after riff any fucking day over those guys. So,
yep,
that's just me.
What would you rate this album?
This is a hard one for me because we took a break after listening to this album, and during that break, I couldn't decide whether this is a B+ or an A- album. And I think I might actually be leaning more towards A+, just because like we were talking earlier about Ski Mask. There's a lot of moments on this album that, no, it's not the greatest work of metal ever made. It's not this incredibly intricate. It's no like Rust in Peace. But this album's atmosphere and this album's just enjoyability factor, like, I had legitimate fun listening to this album, and I did not want to stop listening to this album at any point in time. And I think any album that does that to me, where I can just sit there and want to listen to it without it ending, it deserves at least an A-. So I think I'm going to go with an A-, but it's like a 90%. You know what I mean? Like, it's just on the edge.
Yeah.
What about you? What would you
I
rate
agree
this?
with you, most of it. I think I'm going to go with, like, between an 8 and a 9 out of 10. So we're same sort of thing as you. But I'm probably leaning more towards B.
Yeah,
B+.
I mean, I could see. Because the thing is that this isn't amazing. Well, some parts of it are amazing to me, but it's not like an amazing album.
Right.
It's just that X factor that, you know,
Yeah.
the whole concept of Ice-T rapping over thrash. And I'm just gonna comment on the rap. I said I don't listen to rap that much, but I still I feel like I can at least give my 2 cents about lyrics and music and rap. The rap is nothing special. You know, there's some cool like wordplay here and there, but in terms of actual like poetic devices and all that crap, nothing's really. This is no like Eminem, you know.
Right.
It's just straight up Ice-T talking about living in the hood and killing bitches. There's not much more to it. It's not super creative, but that almost even works to his advantage.
Right.
Because it lets the vocals lend itself to the entire composition just as much as it should.
Right.
So that's Bloodlust. Now,
Emmure.
Yes, Emmure.
Look at yourself. It's
Look at yourself.
an album of chugs.
Chug-a-lugs.
That's basically it.
I think what perfectly sums up this album. The first track of this album is called UX Asked For It.
And
And we immediately said, no, we did not.
We did not ask
for this album. Do you know the history of what's been going on with Emmure?
I do not.
Basically, I want to say like a year or 2 years ago, everyone left Emmure except for the singer, and they all said that the singer was a dick. What's his name? Frankie Palmero, I think. Is that his name?
Frank
Palmieri. Frankie Palmieri. They're like, Frankie's a dick. He sucks. So they all formed their own band. So Frankie decided, well, I'm just going to get a whole bunch of new guys to join this band, and we're going to make another Emmure album. And in
It's
all
the
fucking
same.
honesty, it's like nothing changed because it's all.
It was very boring. It was literally just chugs the whole entire time. I mean, I guess that's kind of what Emmure does or did. I don't know.
Well,
I can't ever say that I like really listened to them before this. Like I had no idea they had made a new album. I didn't know any of the history going in. I just went and listened to it, but
yeah.
it all sounded the same. It was just all like a muddled mess of songs. There were a couple of interesting like parts, like the beginning of Natural Born Killer. I thought was kind of cool. And maybe one or two other things, yeah, like riffs, and that was about it. And then they just kind of petered out into chugs. And we got about like what 3/4 of the way through, and I completely just started going off, looking at other things, and
So you're saying that you didn't even give this album a chance? You didn't even give this album a chance.
3/4 of the way through. No, I listened through the whole thing, but at no point at the end was I brought back into it, hoping. I don't know.
No, yeah, I agree.
It just kind of petered out.
I'll say
that song Derelict, I didn't even realize that song had like played and ended. I thought we were still listening to Torch and Gucci Prison, and it was like about to start by the time that song ended. I was like, okay. But we were talking about this sort of thing with Suicide Silence and how they tried to break off from the norm. I think this suffers from adhering too closely to the norm. Maybe. I might be talking out my ass, but who knows?
No, I'd agree. Well, I just want to say, with Emmure, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I've heard some of their older stuff. Some of their older stuff, I actually think the riffs.
There's a couple of songs.
There's not bad. It's not like Emmure is just completely horrible. It's just mostly horrible. It's not completely horrible, though. There's some good stuff in Emmure's catalog. And I agree with what you're saying. Like Natural Born Killer, it's got one good riff. There's like Russian Hotel Aftermath has a decent riff.
Yeah, was that the? I don't even remember. Like the other two riffs
that's the thing though. This album,
I was so just like
you were saying how Suicide Silence like went away from the norm. This
was
literally so incredibly in the other direction.
The entire time it was ridiculous.
Yeah. This is just like I was telling you, it's so cliche when you're critiquing a band. The most cliche thing that's ever been said when anyone has ever critiqued any sort of music is that all the songs sound the same. I've heard that. But this
is one of the cases where that's
it's not
completely true.
It's not even like it kind of sounds. No, this is if you take the time to break down the guitar parts, to break down the vocals, to break down the beat, it's literally like the same thing. Here's the formula for this entire album right here. There's a little intro with a rap beat. It's all hip hop style beats the whole fucking time. Genty hip hop style beats. Then there's the instruments will cut out and they'll put the same filter on Frankie's voice that they use at least I'd say 30 times throughout the entire album. It's that kind of filter that makes it sound staticky and makes it sound way higher than his voice actually is. Obviously, because he really can't do high as well, so they have to put all these fucking filters on it to make it seem like he can actually do high screams well, which he can't. Break, filtered high vocals, and then literally, that's the guitar part to 90% of this album is and then they'll always top off the riff with some squeaks.
Yes.
You listen to the album and you will learn immediately. Yeah, it's like wee wee. That's what it is. And it's like that's a cool little thing to put in one riff in an album. Just one riff, just to give it a little bit of flavor. No, it is.
It's the whole album.
I got mad. Like you were listening with me. I was getting furious with how many
Stop
times
with the
they used
squeaks.
that squeak shit. Like, and if we're talking about the formula again, you have that, and then you have little ambient melodies in the background. So you'll have like kind of that the guitar part going like dun 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 wheel. You have Frankie going like, "Oh fuck this bitch, whatever. You're a bitch, blah blah blah." It's not even like that, but it's just cliche lyrics that a 14-year-old would come up with. Hip hop beat, bass is just doing the exact same thing as the guitars, and then in the background you'll hear some weird ambient melody where it's like doo 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 doo, and half the time the ambient little melody doesn't even fit with like the key of the song. They just shoved it on there because it was a preset in some sample FX pack they got, and they just shoved it on top of the song. That is every single that right there. That description is every single song on this album to a T. No exceptions at all.
Except for the one riff in Natural Born Killer.
Riff. There's one riff in Natural Born Killer. No, this
is like jump up and down music.
Yeah, this is jump the fuck up music.
That's literally, isn't that like what they say in the? I didn't even remember what the lyrics were in the first verse. Like,
jump the fuck up. That's
yeah.
What, that describes this album. Jump the fuck up. That's what the whole point is. But I mean, the thing is that there's bands like Thy Art Is Murder who can take this gent shit and pull it off well, like make it sound brutal. There's other bands like 12 Foot Ninja that could take this gent shit and make it sound very creative and weird and have all these weird effects in it and do all these musical changes. And this album fits right in the middle to where it's not really that brutal, but it's not really that creative. It's just this thing sitting in the middle like an awkward little 14-year-old in his room. That's what this album is. I mean...
Yeah. I likened it to white noise towards the end of it.
Yeah.
That's basically what it turned out to be. Like, it just gets to the point where it's like, okay. Well, yeah. I don't know. I have nothing more to say about it. It was very boring.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk, like... I mean, we listened
I'm not
to
even going to say it was like that Five Finger Death Punch album, because I think I felt more let down by that one than I did by this. I don't know if it was because my expectations were lower going into this. I don't feel like they were.
No, I don't know how you could have lower expectations. I think it's just because Five Finger Death Punch.
Well, I think they had more like hooks. You know, there was
had more hooks.
Oh,
and
you know what?
solos
This is gonna go
it.
somewhere, and then it like didn't do anything.
Yeah, well, it's just they have
Here,
more.
There was very little. There was very little to like get me hyped.
Yeah, which is funny to say because this album literally sounds like a half-hour long display of Frankie trying to pump up a crowd. That's what this sounds like. It literally just sounds like a half hour of jump the fuck up moments.
Yeah.
It's kind of pathetic to a point how unengaged you get. Like, this is an album that makes you bored pretty fucking fast.
Yeah.
Like, even in Shinjuku Master Lord, the song, we were like, Shinjuku Master Lord, oh, that sounds weird. I bet they're going to have all these crazy sound effects. I bet they're gonna,
I just wanted, like, silly lyrics and things like that, but no, it was like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. The entire time. It's like, okay.
I don't give a fuck. That's all it is. That's all this fucking album is.
Sums up the whole album, basically.
I mean, let's just go through some of the highlights. Let's talk about the highlights of this album. One of the highlights for me was when the song Major Key Alert comes on.
And it's the same note.
Yeah. Like, you're supposed to think, like, oh, Major Key Alert. So I guess he's making a joke about how most metal songs are in minor key. So they're going to have a major key song, and they're just going to let you know, like, this is in major key, ha ha ha.
Literally just
Too bad you can't fucking tell, because it's all the same fucking note on the guitar. It's all jada jada jada. It's like... It's like they're parodying themselves. Like, it's like Frankie is making fun of himself with how
This album's
You
like
know that's not the
75
case if all the old band members left. So
No, Frankie thinks he's got.
he thinks this is a masterpiece.
Yeah, and he doesn't.
What did this album get on like major review sites?
AllMusic gave it a 3.5. That's all.
Okay.
Like that's
out of 5 or out of 10?
Out of 5. 3.5 out of 5. This
That's
is like
a
a
little...
2, maybe.
Out of 10?
I would probably even. This.
No, I'm going lower than that.
Yeah, this is a stupid fucking album. Before we do the ratings though, I want to do something here because there's a method to our madness a little bit, right? We did Body Counts, Bloodlust, Body Counts, Bloodlust, and then we did Emmure's Look at Yourself. 2 hip-hop-esque metal albums. Kind of the same styles. What elevates Bloodlust so fucking highly over this trash? What exactly is it, Frank?
There were some interesting themes in some of the lyrics. There were some amazing riffs, and all around just solid like instrumental work. It all fit together. And Emmure, it was like just white noise. Like I said, I couldn't tell what the fuck was going on half the time. It all sounded the same. The lyrics were dumb as shit. You know, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I wouldn't say I didn't know what the fuck was going on the whole time. I knew what the fuck was going on the whole time. It was just that what was going on was so fucking boring to me.
I was tricked into not knowing what was happening because nothing was happening.
The album reaches into your brain and like turns off a few circuits so that you don't understand what's going on. No, the thing about, I'm just gonna say this. Ernie C has been playing guitar for decades. Ice-T has been rapping for decades.
Ice-T knows what he's doing.
Ice-T and Ernie C know what the fuck they're doing, and it shows. It shows like even in the middle of that Bloodlust album, Ice-T is talking about how Slayer is one of his favorite bands.
Yeah, right before the
what
Slayer cover.
What is influencing this Emmure album?
I have no fucking clue.
I have no fucking clue because you want to say like all gent bands really
some
go back to
kind of
Sugar, right?
fucking drunken rage or something. I don't know.
Well, I'm
not
saying
even
like
drunken rage.
band-wise, like all gent bands go really back to Meshuggah, right? Like that's the guy. Those are the guys who really.
But this sounds nothing like Meshuggah.
Well, it doesn't because it's so.
Because Meshuggah has like weird time
so
signatures and
badly.
all sorts of craziness going on, and this is just like one note.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this is like if you took a Meshuggah song and you took out 75% of the notes that are played. This is what you get, is Emmure. You know what I mean? Like, it's Meshuggah taken down to such a low common denominator, you can't even tell what the fuck they're influenced by. Because really, like a 2-year-old can make this. A 2-year-old could go up to a piano and just press the C key like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like a moron could do that. And a moron has done it on this album. Like any 13-year-old can write in his diary about, like, fuck that bitch. Fuck everything, I hate everything. Anybody could do this. Like, this is an album that feels like the combined experience of these musicians is maybe like 3 years. And I know it's not. I mean, these guys have been doing this for a while.
No, they can obviously play well enough to be in a fucking band, like a great band.
But they have they have no sense of like
band.
showing off any sort of musical prowess.
Well, I'm not gonna say. Well, if we look at, I'm just like thinking about things right now, but I'm assuming Frank Palmieri made the whole album by himself and just made everybody else do everything.
I mean, I'm not sure.
Or
I wouldn't be surprised.
A lot of this was put in. What is Emmure on the Sumerian?
I don't believe so. I mean, it sounds like a Sumerian chord. No, this was.
Well, there's some great Sumerian bands, so like I can't say Sumerian made them fucking do all this shit, but it sounds like somebody was like, you gotta fit the formula.
Well,
sort of thing,
Let's look at the producer of this album. The producer's name is Drew Folk. I'm gonna list off some of the artists that Drew Folk has worked with. We have Motionless in White, Crown the Empire, Escape the Fate, We Came as Romans, I mean, there you go. Miss May I? He actually did Fear
You know what?
Factory.
It actually makes sense.
He did
Fear Factor?
He did Fear Factory. He was a vocal producer in Fear Factory. Whatever. And these Motionless in White, he's a writer. On
A writer.
Crown the Empire, he's a writer, producer, engineer. This is a guy who has a track record of just releasing lowest common denominator bullshit. You know what I mean?
Well, it makes sense, because, like, if you look at all those bands, there's, like, a few songs that you might think are decent, and the rest of it you just kind of discard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I completely...
Which is what I looked at with Emmure. Like,
Yeah.
I know, like, a couple of their older songs I think are fine, you know? Like, I enjoy the riffs, things like that. And then the rest you just throw away. And so this album is just a complete throwaway sort of thing for me.
Yeah. Well, I agree, first of all, but I think it's interesting because, you know, when we first started listening to this album, I was thinking, you know, this isn't horrible.
But there's a market for this, though.
Well, yeah.
Like, I put in, like, my expectations, like what I told you. It's like, I don't think it's going to be terrible, but I don't think it's going to be good.
I thought it got terrible by the end. Because, here, let me finish my point.
You see,
let me finish my point here, okay? The thing about this album that I realized when I first listened to it is that these songs, if you just took one of these songs off the album, just played it, and that was it. That's all you heard off this album was one song. You would think, all right, it's fine. You know, it's dun 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 wee wee, and Frankie doing that filtered vocal thing, right?
Yes.
Those are little things in a song that make the song unique. Those are little things that make a song memorable. And it is like it's kind of interesting to hear the guitar squeal. It's kind of interesting to hear the filtered vocals. When you hear it for the 13th fucking time in a row, that is when it gets to terrible level. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's the same thing with all those other bands. Like we were saying, like they have a couple of decent, you know, songs, but when you really look at it, it's all throwaway. This entire album's throwaway. But you can still, like, if you just listen to one of these songs off the album, you'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's all you need is one song.
Yeah, just listen to one song off this album. You have it. Listen to Natural Born Killer, and you will be getting the best of this album, which is at best mediocre. You know.
One thing I could say about this though is like they could play any of these songs at a show, and it would probably be okay.
Well, that's what you're talking about, right? With Suicide Silence. It's like how
they could barely play any of those songs.
Exactly.
It would be completely jarring, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work at a show like that. But any of these songs can fit into that mold.
Exactly. I mean that's the thing.
So in that way, I guess they succeeded, because you go to a show and you hear one of these, and you're still fine. You're still into the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But if you're playing Suicide Silence and they do, like, whatever that one song was where it was just nothing, and I don't fucking know. But
yeah.
Dying of Red Robin.
Yeah, but all right. Well,
that's why.
What?
I don't know. You see, like, I think I have to give them the same sort of grade as Suicide Silence, because where Suicide Silence fails in creativity, or it fails in execution / playability, it's at least they tried something new.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, they didn't try something new, but it's like just kind of like the dregs of passable sort of thing, and they, you know, you wouldn't be overwhelmed by one of these songs at a show.
No. Well, yeah, I agree. It's like Suicide Silence failed in the sense that they were trying to go for something, and they failed in the execution.
It's like opposite sort of thing, you know? It's like complete opposites, so they kind of balance out in the middle.
Yeah. Emmure failed in the fact that they didn't bother even trying anything. But,
right.
You know what that's called? You know what's a good word for didn't even bother trying anything? That word's called lazy. To me, lazy is a very good description of this album.
Yeah.
If we're getting down to it.
I mean, it can't be too lazy, because it sounds fine, you know? Like, somebody put in some effort to, like...
I think, you know who that man is? I think Drew Fulk put in that fucking effort. I think that's who put in the effort, was Drew Fulk. He was like, you know what?
Always somebody put in some effort.
Write the same guitar part for every song, and I'll shove on some effects, and we'll be fine. That's how this album was written. And
Oh.
Frankie, you just bitch about whatever the fuck you feel like, and I'll fix it in post-production. I mean, at least they got Drew Folk working for them.
Big names, big names.
Yeah, I know. It's such a big name. Well, what would you give this album, Frank? Let's do the...
What I give the Suicide Silence, like 3 out of 10. That's probably what I give this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked. I was not impressed.
No. Impressive is not a word that comes into mind when I think about it.
No.
My grade... Man. This is another hard one. It's always hard for me to grade these fucking albums.
Well, that's my problem is I feel like I'm way too hard on some things and like not hard enough on other things. I don't know.
Well, I just want to go through this.
Like going back to that Megadeth album that I gave like a 5 out of 10, like I don't think it really deserved a 5 out of 10. I was just kind of thinking middle of the way, and I kind of got stuck in that mindset. It was definitely like a 7 or 6. Minimum 6.
Maybe. I don't know. I think a 5 out of 10 was fine for that album, personally.
Well,
we're not talking about Megadeth.
Okay,
we're talking about fucking Emmure. Fucking
this
Frankie
is how I
Palmieri
felt during
in your
Emmure.
face.
I got completely distracted the entire time. I was just like,
I mean, that's the
off
thing,
in
like,
other places.
That's what this album does to you. It's so fucking
I'm talking
boring.
about this album,
Megadeth.
and I'm talking about Megadeth.
I'm just going to give my thought process. Part of me wants to give this album a straight up F. Really. Because...
The problem, yeah, you see, I see where you're coming from with that, but it's not like, I don't know, it's not like a freaking god-awful album.
Well, if this isn't god-awful
I was just super
album, what
bored.
is? You know, I'm trying to think, like, what would push me to an F if this doesn't push me to F? Because you heard me. There were parts of this album
you see,
where
like,
I
I'm
was
confused.
yelling at it. I was so sick of that fucking squealing.
Me. I've been confused.
That guitar squealing just drove me nuts by the end of it. Not even by the end of it, but halfway through the guitar squealing in this fucking album drove me nuts. Because it's just like, how one-trick pony can you fucking get? This album's like the fucking definition of a one fucking trick pony. Like, seriously. And it's just... If that's not a fucking F, I mean, I guess you could say, well, they did that one trick maybe mediocrely. You know? They did that one fucking trick enough.
All right. Well, I gave it an F, so I have no room to speak.
I'm mad. I'm literally getting mad at this album.
I'm mad.
They trolled me so fucking hard on this fucking album.
No, you trolled yourself. You were
Yeah.
going to listen to Havoc, and you decided Emmure would fit the theme.
Well, part of it is after listening to Body Count and seeing a band that could do...
We should have listened to this first and then Body Count. Maybe
we would have
should do
given
that.
Body Count like A pluses and 10s out of 10 if we listened to it after this fucking album.
You know, that's true. But what would we have given this?
I'll give this a D minus.
That whole talk about giving it an F.
Well, I was telling you, part of me
D
wants
minus.
to. Part of me isn't big enough to do it. I'm gonna give it a D minus, just because. I mean, just because I don't know, just because I want to die inside already. So I'm waiting for that. I need to wait for the perfect album to give an F to, an album that is so fucking bad.
The Suicide Silence album, wasn't it?
No, I'm looking for even worse.
Ooh, you got some high standards, boy.
No, that's called low standards. I got some low fucking standards. This album is not worth an F. It's not worth giving the debut F to. Because it's just forgettable. I mean, Emmure's just always going to be one of those bands where people will think about them for maybe like 0.0001% of their lives until the next song comes out, and then they'll listen to it for a second again until the next album comes out. And then Frankie Palmieri or whatever the fuck will just work at Safeway when he's 50 and can't fucking be in his little shit band anymore. So What can you do?
I can do other things.
You mean like play guitar? You mean like play... Like, that's one of the things we said. I can't think of a single song in this entire album that had more than 5 guitar notes in it. 5 different notes.
Whatever. That's what the young kids listen to these days. It's too complicated, anything more than that.
If anything more than this is considered complicated, we are fucked as a fucking race, okay? Like, literally, we are fucked as a human race if anything more than this is considered complicated.
What is it, like, average lyrics these days, like, speak at a 3rd grade level or something? I think this is what they were going for, that instrumental sense.
Yo, fuck finger painting. I'm sick of this juice box shit. This album killed me inside.
I wouldn't go that far. I just got super disinterested.
Well, you could break away. I chose...
You went down the hole that I did not go down.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can take 2 different paths with this album. You can either just do something else, which is what 90% of people do, or you can actively listen to this album and try to decipher any positives out of it. There are exactly 3 positives that come in the form of mediocre riffs that are sprinkled 3 times throughout the album.
Yep.
I mean, what more can you say?
Nothing. I'm done talking about it.
Well, I think you want to wrap it up?
All right. Thanks for listening. Go listen to Body Count.
You fucking rule, Ernie C! You fucking rule!
Emmure, you should probably save yourself the trouble unless you're really into that kind of shit.
Get a degree, Frankie. Get a day job, because you're going to need it when you're 45.
No. He must make music. He has an audience that he must cater to. Anyways, that's all. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Bye.